Welcome to Trauma Undone. I am your host, Natasha Phillips, and today we have with us Eric Bigger. He is just an incredible human being. He has got an amazing heart and wants to transform the world. And so, Eric, we are so happy to have you with us today.
Yes, thank you for having me. Trauma Undone. Here in Studio Place, Brentwood. Feeling good. How are you?
I'm good, Eric. So, you are a transformational coach.
Yes.
But you didn't get there just by chance.
Yeah.
There was a story and
A choice
a reason and a
I
choice.
had to make.
So can we talk about that?
Yeah. Growing up in Baltimore City, to anybody who knows Baltimore, they know the Ravens, they know the Orioles, but we also have a TV show named The Wire that was on HBO for like maybe a decade. And anyone who's watched that show, know that show, maybe they don't. It's a very dangerous environment. A lot of criminal activity, drugs. I mean, but that's the norm, you know? So I grew up in that environment, that vibration. And growing up as a kid, raised by men who were in the streets, they were drug lords, they were kingpins. I saw a lot of great things from them, having all the money and having all the power, but I also experienced a lot of pain and frustration and adversity in that because I have an uncle serving time in prison, my dad in and out of prison. And so in those environments, you have to learn how to be tough and be strong as a young man. But there's a lot of trauma involved. You know, people dying and getting murdered, it becomes the norm. That's trauma. You know, people getting locked up, people fighting, that's trauma. Also experiencing not getting the love and affection I wanted from my parents, you know, being emotionally abandoned. Yeah, it's trauma. And so for me, my choice was, I know there was something outside of Baltimore that was just more about being an athlete or selling drugs. So my choice was, I chose to be curious. And that curiosity led me to a whole nother world of spirituality, information, education. And it just took me on this dark night of the soul. And I had to wake up my higher self to kind of discover, like, who am I? What am I? Why am I here? What is Baltimore City? What is my mom and dad's upbringing like? What is their past? I mean, they're human. They're not perfect. And so with all of that, I'm able to get to a space and I can get to the root of a lot of things and understand, like, trauma is not really bad. It's only bad when you don't understand where it comes from and how to get out of it. And so I've been fortunate enough with the God-given ability and gifts to unpack a lot of that trauma and heal it and reveal it and help people as well when they're experiencing trauma or pain.
So, you know, growing up in that environment, that becomes normal.
Yeah.
And you don't know anything different.
Yeah.
So what was that like deciding point in your life where you were like, there is something different than this?
Well, I'm so thankful for sports because I played basketball most of my life. And at the age of 15, like I said, I knew there was something more than just being in Baltimore. But basketball was the intention. That was the vehicle to get me to where I want to go. I wanted to be a professional basketball player. So that gave me a purpose, right? Basketball was my purpose. It gave me a drive to go somewhere, to go to college eventually and play professionally. So when that didn't pan out, all I had to fall back on was my education. And granted, I was a good student. You know, I was a nerd. I read the books, I went to class, I did the work. So when I didn't make it in sports, I said, okay, 21, 22, fresh out of college, I moved to LA. I got to go pro in life. And that's when the real internal higher self, personal development started. The Think and Grow Rich, The Secret, As a Man Thinketh, Tony Robbins, Bob Proctor, Les Brown. That's when the evolution of Eric Bigger, who I am today, started when I was 22, 23 years old, because I didn't have that professional basketball player ability. I wasn't in that position, so I had to become a professional in life. And I knew there was more than life than like, okay, Tony Robbins was my idol and I looked up to him. He's a Pisces like me. He's so passionate. Oh, who is he? Why is he like this? How does he get in this space? And so I started studying successful people that I wanted to become and be like. And I started getting more information, meditation, spirituality, getting up at 5 a.m., reading books, working out. I mean, I've always been in shape. But I always say, people look at information as, they write it off. Because when you're reading books and you're learning, you can't really see no tangible outcome. So we live in a 3D reality where do to get, right? But what I realized was knowledge is the precursor to experience. So the more books I read, the more information I gained, the more things I started tracking into my vibration to make me understand where I'm going and where I'm at, to understand my trauma and why was I abandoned? Why did, people in my community decide to sell drugs? Was it a system? Is it, prejudice? What is it? And then, I started going down a rabbit hole and I started getting answers and I started applying it because it's one to know, but I applied the knowledge and my life started changing. And I was like, oh, wow, this has become a thing. And then success found me. I was studying it for the people, but I became it. And then my whole life changed, an opportunity, books, podcasts, TV shows, you know, people, and, and I found myself and things found me.
So do you think that having the discipline from your sporting background helped you in this discipline of life?
Yes. I always contribute basketball as a vessel and a vehicle because I remember playing basketball, one of my coaches would say, stale face, no emotions, right? So to give you a little context, because they always tell us don't show our emotions as men, you should be vulnerable as a man. But what he was saying in those moments, he said, Eric, if you turn the ball over, I don't want your emotions to get the best of you when you stop playing the game. So in life, right, you're going to have your ups and downs. It's all how you respond. And so that always stuck with me. And then I had work ethic. Like I was up early, first in the gym, last to leave. So I was committed to what I was giving my energy to. And I was determined to figure out, what is this? Why am I here? What is my purpose? And then I just had this drive to like discover like, what is life? Yo, I'm a Pisces, life path numbers, numerology, astrology, human design, all these things I've studied to understand who I am so I can be more of a asset and value to the world. But yeah, basketball played a lot with the discipline and the consistency and a commitment and a dedication. So it helped.
So when you decided to go on this path,
Yeah.
you said you went into a dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that? If you
Yeah. So my dark night of the soul, I believe, happened before I was born, right? To give you some, backdrop on that story. So my mom, I didn't get the love and affection I wanted from her as a child. And it made me question, like, does my mom love me, right? So I had a real problem with receiving. And it wasn't until I was 25, I was watching Tony Robbins' I'm Not Your Guru. And there's a segment in his documentary where there's a young lady says she hates her father. He was like, great, you hate your dad. I want you to call him right now and tell him why you hate him, and then tell him what he made you because of the things he didn't do. So I'm watching it. Tears start coming down. And I'm just like, wow, I'm having a breakthrough. I call my mom. I tell her all the things she didn't do. But outside of that, I told her what those things made me. I said it made me a man. It made me not depend on women. It forced me to grow up and figure it out. In that conversation, that healing conversation that I had with my mom, she told me when I was young, I didn't know this at the time, I was premature. I knew that. I didn't know I was born as a twin. My twin didn't make it.
Oh, that's so
right?
sad.
So I was born March 9th. I was due April 7th. The doctor told my mom I might not make it. So I didn't even go home when I was conceived, when I was born. I had tubes and it was like, so I was fighting for my life before I even knew how to fight.
Yeah.
So I was already in a dark space coming into the world. And she said she would always whisper in my ear, miracle child, miracle child, miracle child. And then as I've gotten older, I'm like, oh, I'm chosen. Like I have a strong spirit because I almost died. Like I'm a premature and I wanted to get here before I was supposed to be here. So I really think it started in the womb. And I think my mom was 21 when she had me. She already had one kid. I believe my dad and people didn't think she should have the baby. So she was going through so much conflict, right? But she was carrying me. And then outside of that, I realized like, oh, I'm strong. I got what it takes. So it started there. And then as I've got older, like I always did well in school. I was a good kid. I was a leader on all my teams and of my peer group. I was notable. Like I was a good kid. But when I landed here in LA, college degree, accolades, mega cum laude, like LA didn't care about that. And that's when that journey, I had to really figure out like, outside of Baltimore, outside of these degrees, outside of all these accolades, who are you? And then I started internalizing, and I went through some tough times. I mean, not being able to pay my rent. I've done the Ubers, I worked in front of the nightclub, selling water machines. I was hustling, but there were some very low moments in my life where I was upset. I'm like, God, what am I doing wrong? I feel like I'm doing everything. But the thing, what I want people listening and watching this to know is that I think school is great. I think education is great. But what I think is not great is that when you go to school for 4 years, you miss out on life, right? So I had 4 years in college, and when I got out of college, I didn't understand life. I didn't understand a checking book or invoice or rent or credit. I just wasn't privy to that because I was in school for so long. So I was kind of crippled to the school experience, and you got out and you got life experience where no one's coming to save you. You can't turn that paper in late. You can't miss 10 days of school and then still make up like in life. Nah.
Yeah.
So life really wakes you up. But I think it was a blessing that I did move from Baltimore 3,000 miles away because I couldn't just reach back to family or friends. I had to figure it out. My back up against the wall. And that's when I just started diving deep. And then, through my journeys, I had my ups and I had my downs. But every moment, it was a moment to get better. And so it was just a lot of like taking risks, working at Abercrombie and Fitch as a manager, then quitting that because I had a mobile app. Then starting training, then I failed, and then I had no clients, and I was broke, and I didn't have no money. And then, then I go back to Abercrombie, not as a manager, as a model to full codes, and I'm working at the nightclub, and I'm doing Uber because, like, what did I'm trying to figure it out. But through that process, I remained humble, and I never stopped trying to figure out what I needed to do. And then life happened for me, right? Because I still was doing the work. I still was reading the books. I still was curious. I didn't stop my curiosity because trauma was involved or pain, or and I had a problem asking for help because of lack of receiving. And then things come into your life, opportunities, commercials, TV shows. And I always tell people, keep going. And most times it's tough when you're in that dark space. But I had so much faith that I was going to figure it out. And I think that was my weapon in those dark moments. It was my faith and my curiosity. And it got me to a point of, wow, wow, life, Then I had the opportunity to go on a TV show, The Bachelorette. And I remember on a show that season, 2017, I was in Copenhagen, Denmark. And I was looking around like, because I used to regret a lot before that. Because I'm like, I knew I had this potential, but I was like, am I ever going to live up to my potential? That was my biggest fear, that I would never live up to my potential. And I would question like, man, I overgave, I overhelped this person. Like I was just insecure about all the things I've done because I'm like, I thought I'm doing everything, people pleasing, whatever. But when I was in Copenhagen, I was like, it all makes sense. Thank you, God, for those experiences. Thank you for that dark night of the soul. Thank you for those challenges. Thank you for those setbacks. So to anyone watching and listening, if you're in a dark space or you're experiencing any type of trauma, I'm here to tell you from experience, if you just stick with your faith and know that there's something greater, things will appear better. Not that it's easy, but things will get better. And so I've been through enough to know like it's going to be okay.
So a lot of times when people are in that darkest time of their lives and they lose faith or they blame whatever they want to call it. I call it God.
Yeah.
But everyone has their own word and their own connection. How did you maintain that faith?
Well, I think,
you lose it at one point and then regain it.
Well, I questioned it. I never lost it. I think, and this is the power of books, right? So there's a book by Eckhart Tolle called Awaken Your New Life Purpose. And in his book, he talks about paying bodies. And there's a segment in the book when I was reading, he said, usually the most spiritual people, the most spiritual one, are usually those who were born in a paying body. So I've been super spiritual my entire life. And it wasn't like, I didn't grow up in the church, I wasn't forced to go to church, but I just always had this presence over me, like, I gotta pray. But it wasn't like my mom or my dad was telling me, or my grandmother, like I always felt I need to pray. So I questioned my faith on my journey. I never lost it. So I've always was spiritual, but that book, being in a paying body that I feel like I was born in, allowed me to have a spiritual discernment or gift. And what I'm learning when people get in that space and they lose faith is because they never was put in a position where they had to depend on their faith. Either they grew up well off or things were in place. But a lot of it, when they lose faith, is their ego, because they want to control things. Like I'm a witness of, I'm guilty of that. This morning,
Mm.
I had a client and she canceled. I couldn't coach her. So clearly I wasn't in control. She wasn't in control, because I thought I was going to see her at 7 a.m. That didn't work. So I could have been easy, like, oh man, I could have did something else. But no, you're not in control. So anybody that might be losing faith when they're in a dark space, you got to let the ego die, and you got to let God in. You got to let your higher self up, and you got to surrender. But when we surrender, we don't get into faith, we get into fear, right? When we try to let go. So we go really dark and go deep into negative thinking, because we are afraid of what we don't know, uncertainty. But if you think about it, there's nothing to be afraid of, because every day is uncertain. Like, we don't know what, like, I didn't know I was going to not train my client this morning. So the key is to be present and to think about, okay, I'm having a tough time. What can I do? Or what should I do? Most people say, I don't know. More times than not, is like I think the first thing for most people, they feel like they're a burden to others. They feel like they're not enough. They feel like they're not worthy, and that they're putting all this on someone else's shoulder. In these dark times, the best thing to do is to reach out to someone you love and you look up to. Because like we said, a lot of people don't have no faith. They don't pray. They don't go to church. They don't have no religion. They don't have no spiritual thing. I'm not knocking that. All I'm saying is, you look up to someone, you love someone, reach out to them and talk to them. There's one person, or use social media. There's something on social media that can help when you're experiencing a tough time, depression, anxiety, overwhelmed. Use your resources. Ask God, ask your higher self for a sign, because everyone is not privy to the things you and I, or what I had growing up. So I can't expect people to respond the way I am. All I can do say is take a deep breath and think about what you're feeling and experiencing, and don't try to control that. Let go of it and ask for help. And you ask for help by surrendering and allowing things to show up. And so I just think as a collective, we need each other. That's why I think social media is powerful as a community, right? You're helping me help someone else by asking me questions. So when you're asking me questions, you're forcing me to go deep in my subconscious of my experiences to come up with answers that not only help us, but help someone who might be going through something right now. That's why I believe Trauma Undone is important, because we're always experiencing trauma. You got the war, you got so many things. It's just, I think it's important for these platforms, for your show, right? Social media, and all of us to question things, but to have something to look forward to outside of our dark spaces that we get in sometimes.
So I have a couple more questions. I have many more questions for you, but just out of what you were saying.
Yeah.
The one is, so a lot of people don't reach out for help because there's so much shame associated with it.
Yeah.
So how do you recommend people like moving past that, or putting that aside and just saying help?
So
or not even help, just this is what's happening. Just like, a burden shared is a burden halved kind of thing.
yeah, I think the first thing people got to let go of is, we got to stop giving so much power to the physical world. What I mean by that, stop giving power to your job. Stop giving power to your job, the reality, the physical realm, meaning like all the stuff you have, this, that, these shoes, clothes can be replaced. You can't be replaced, right? So that's one. So that's why I think the shame comes in, because we're giving so much power to others over how we are. And I just experienced this with someone yesterday, and they didn't want me to reach out to people that were close to them. And I'm like, but why? But I said, in this process, it's time to see who loves you for you, because you've been loving on everybody. And I said, when you get to a space, you need to process, why are you so afraid of people knowing that you're weak right now? I said, it's okay to be weak. And I think that's the problem. We're afraid to be weak. But when we're weak, that's how we become strong, because we know we get to see who is on our team. And I think people feel shame because they have the false perception of reality. They have the false perception of the ideology of that. They don't want to be a burden. They feel shameful and guilt. But why? If I was telling this person, I said, if you were a parent and your child came to you, would you let them think what you're thinking? No. Now, I'm not saying what you're thinking is invalid. I'm not saying what you're going through is easy. But I told him, I'm not letting you give up on me. Not in my presence. We're going to make these phone calls. And that's what we did. And this person's in a better place. But here's the thing. This person wasn't feeling good, was feeling off, feeling different. However, they felt compelled to text me, right? So I'm one person. They didn't even reach out to their family. There we go. So what did I do? I did the due diligence and I reached out. I prayed. I stayed on the phone with them. And the blessing and the miracle happened. And that's it. So I'm living proof that these things are real. That I understand that energy, that ideology, but I'm saying I'm that person. I've been on the other side of that. You only need one person. There's a quote that says, in life, you just need one person to believe in you. And that's enough to get ahead. So people listening, find that one person in your life. It could be your child. It could be your spouse. It could be your friend. It could be the neighbor that talks to you find that one person and believe in you and build real rapport with them, because you might need them one day and they might need you. But never be ashamed about your pain, because we're always trying to unpack our trauma. And I think we got to change the perception around getting help. I was that way. Oh, I had so much pride and ego. Oh, no, because look, Baltimore, right? Got to be strong. No, it's time to be weak, because who's really on your team? And then you realize, like, it's a paradigm shift. Like, oh, I can be weak. Like, yes, we can fill up your cup. You can get love. Your cup is empty. Let's pour it up. And today, person sending me screenshots, 5 or 6 people sending them DMs and checking on you. I love you, whatever you need. That's what we want. Now that's what you call balance. Because I've been that person, the overgiver. Oh, I'm good, I'm great. But when you leave me, I'm suffering. Because I don't know how to ask for help. Or I'm too ashamed. Never be ashamed. I want all the help. All the help. I want all the love. I was afraid of love. Give me all the love, universe. I'm going to receive it. It's okay. You got to have a balance. And so, yeah.
So do you have a self-care practice?
Yes, I do. Woo! So my self-care practice is when I wake in the morning, I meditate. I would say like 5 to 7 minutes, clear the energy. I have 3 forms of affirmations. I have thank you affirmations. I have I am affirmations. And then I have personal affirmations, whether it's like business, receiving love, whatever my anchor or my challenges are, I make affirmations around that. Gratitude statements. I'm so happy and grateful now that I'm healthy and wealthy. I'm so happy.
And you write them down?
Yep.
You write them and speak them?
Yeah, I write them and speak them. Gratitude list. I say, who am I grateful for today? I'm grateful for Trauma Undone. I'm grateful for Natasha, right? Just to put it out, I go work out. I go work out. And before I work out, I pray. So meditation, affirmations, journal them, prayer, we hit the gym, because motion changes emotion. So then that's my morning regimen, and I do it. If I'm not working out, I'm doing the other every day, no matter what. So you have to have some type of internal relationship with yourself to deal with life when things are tough. And a lot of people, we're just using our job and our careers and our spouses and our kids as that thing we give life to. But you got to give life to yourself when you wake up. So that is my self-care routine. And also, a few times a week, I go to cryo healthcare. Shouts out to cryo healthcare. I do red light therapy, the beamer. I do cold plunges, contrast therapy. So I'm always doing anything to enhance my vibration, right? Outside of the meditation, outside of the prayer, outside of reading books, outside of learning. I want to be well. So how does Eric be well? I'm going to get some sunlight. I'm going to try to eat as clean as I can. I'm going to move my body. I'm going to be around positive people. I'm going to have real stimulating intellectual conversations. I want to fill my cup up without trying to fill everybody else up, subconsciously. So you got to put yourself in the right environment. And I think that's another thing that people are not thinking about. What environment are you in when you're experiencing these dark times and spaces? Who are you around? And when you're having a tough time, get around people, community, get around your family, get around your friends. Go to a coffee shop. Go to the Get around people when you're having a tough time, because that will help. We like to isolate ourselves, and it's not good. And isolation is never healthy when you're going through a tough moment. So, yeah.
So do you think that self-care has to do with a person's self-worth? You think the two are tied together?
Oh, yes. Because I didn't notice at the time, but that's a great question. Because I didn't always feel worthy. That's why I was a people pleaser. Because of my abandonment wound, I felt like I always had to give to get. And I didn't think people would give me things if I wasn't giving something. That was my lack of self-worth. So when you start doing these things, right? Meditation, prayer, affirmations, working out, eating healthy, however, those things are a form of self-respect. So that tells yourself, that tells your body, tells your spirit, that tells the universe that you care about yourself. You know, I always say, look at women. Women, you get their nails done, they get their hair done, makeup. They want to look good. That means you have self-respect in that department. You care about how you look. Self-care equals self-worth. So the more you take care of yourself, the more those things take care of you. But if you're doing it for vanity and you're doing it for gain and validation, it's unhealthy, because then you depend on those things to fill you up. But then you don't have those things, you're not happy. Ego again, right? Your ego's failing you. Same with guys think they should have a lot of money or a nice car or jewelry to get a girl. But if you're doing it for that and you're not doing it for your internal being, you're never gonna be able to keep someone in your life for a long time, or they're gonna love you from that paradigm or that perspective, which is not good. So I always tell people, if you strip everything away, who are you? Most of us don't know, because the world hasn't conditioned us to. So, you know, it's good to know who you are when things are going not your way, but self-care and self-worth are interconnected. And I think it's important to take care of yourself if you know how to. Because you know what's good is most people know how to take care of others, but can't take care of self. That's what I suffered from.
Yeah.
You know, so you got to turn the mirror to yourself and help yourself.
My mother never took care of herself and always took care of everybody else.
Yeah.
But her mantra was, you can't fill up anyone else's cup when your jug is empty. So I had that like drilled into my head. Not that I was good at it until now. I definitely am better at it.
So yeah, congratulations. Progress, baby steps.
Work in progress.
Big results from small beginnings. They say home runs don't win a game, the small balls do, right? Let's get on base. Just get on base. Let's get the first base. We fine. You don't got to hit a home run.
So for somebody that is going to start this journey of self-discovery,
yeah,
because most people don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And you're right. When you strip everything away, it's like, who are you?
Yeah.
How do you recommend someone to do this? Because I also think, I just want to say why I think this is important is because once you know who you are, you're solid, and you won't allow certain things to happen to you or to affect you in a certain way. You can deal with, you know, upheaval.
Yeah, pain, resistance, challenges. I think
you're more resilient when
you're more resilient, and I think that's what Baltimore built my resilience, because of the environment and the energy. But I think I want to make it very simple for people. I don't want to make it out of the box, because some people are not just going to go and pray, or not going to just go and meditate. They're not going to just go read a book. Some people might not even go in the gym. I want to make it really easy. I'm pretty sure someone has a friend, has a lover, if you really want to know who you are, go to someone you trust, that you love, and you value their opinion. Not because they love you, because they're going to keep it real, they're going to be honest. If you have someone, and ask them and say, what is it that you like about me, right? What is it that you like about me? What is it that you think I'm good at? And what do you think I need to work on? So when you start with your peer group, and tell them to be honest, don't tell them to spare you because they don't want to hurt your feelings. Then you start understanding, okay, like, oh, interesting, I never knew that. Thank you for telling that. Oh, wow. My delivery is off sometimes. I want to know where that comes from. So start with your peer group, start with your friends or family or loved ones, and ask these few questions. What's good about me? What do you like about me? What do you think I need to work on, or what are my greatest challenges? Like, I had a friend tell me, it's like, oh, you're just afraid of love. You're hypercritical because you're insecure. Oh, because you want to control how people see you. Oh, okay, got it, boom. And that leads into a whole nother conversation or new door to open to understand, why am I that way? And here's the thing, you're not going to always hear what you want to hear. And that's what people are afraid of, the truth.
Yeah.
But you got to start somewhere. And look, if you can't do that, you can't do that, start by moving your body, right? And moving your body is going to the gym or listen to some music and dancing. And if you can't move your body, turn on some good music, healing music, and get in the space and just start journaling all your thoughts, the good and the bad. Just get it out. Mental therapy, get it out, write it out. And, or here's the last one, take a hot or cold shower. You got to start somewhere, but I want to make it simple. I don't want to make it complex. And I believe out of those 4 things, you'll be able to get to the root of something to start somewhere. That's the initiation to your journey of self-discovery, and you'll be fine. So, by the way, I have a book, Transformation, Change Your Mindset, Change Your Energy, Change Your Life, on Amazon that you can get that talks about that and take you through that discovery. So 28 days to reclaim your power, and it's a workbook. So we have questions in there like, what do you love about yourself? What are you grateful for? We have you writing with your least dominant hand, have you taking cold showers, have you hugging yourself in front of the mirror, have you dancing. So I have material, I have a book that you can, purchase and get for yourself, then go through that process for 4 weeks.
I'll put the link in the notes. The show notes as
well. So there's so many ways, but I think the biggest thing that I want listeners to know, from me to them, even you, is that sometimes in life when we're looking for help and we're looking for feedback, we give the helper, i.e. Tony Robbins, Bob Proctor, these big time people, me, for some people, we give them too much power. So what I'm giving you and what I'm saying here, I'm speaking from my perspective, from my paradigm, from my belief system, from my experiences. These things worked for me. I want you listening, watching, I want you to figure out what works for you. And that's why you got to do all these different things, because it's not one size fit all, right? Because it might not work for you, but there's something that might work. You might just be dancing with music, might just get you in a, or having an energy drink. I don't know, but I'm saying the reason you need to know yourself, because you need to know what works for you, not what works for me, what works for you. And yours could be going to sleep, taking a nap, right? Or hugging someone for 30 seconds. It could be anything, having a pet. Petting your pet, love it, there's so many ways to kind of amplify your experience of healing and getting to the root of who you are. So I want people to take accountability and responsibility for the life they're creating and the life they're in by saying, how do I get out of a rut? How do I get out of a negative space? What makes me happy? What makes me feel good? And questions, and you lead to answers, and you'll be fine. Trauma undone.
It is. And I know for me, when I started to realize that I was like a shell of the person that I was.
Yeah.
I needed to like reinvent myself or rediscover myself or learn a whole new person. I put it down to these simple questions, but it was kind of, I use this like infantile example. But like if someone said to me, what was your favorite color? I would be like, like, what is that?
Yeah.
Like, what is that? What do I like to do on the weekends? I didn't even know any of those things.
Yeah.
I was so detached from self that
Yeah.
it was just like.
Why do you think people detach from self, or why you were detached from self? You think?
For me, I think it was part of my experience that I needed to be somebody else for somebody else.
Got it.
And that somebody else wasn't never good enough.
Right.
So I was continuously changing and trying to mold myself into that person. Not even that I was molding myself. I just think also with, the onslaught that was coming to me on a daily basis, I just didn't even know how to. Yeah. Like I didn't know how to get through the next hour, let alone think about, what is a cool thing for me to do? And I want to relax. Yeah.
And a lot of that I tell people all the time, I tell my clients, I tell my friends, don't be you for me, be you for you. Because what happens is, especially in a partnership or relationship or even a business thing, when you start doing things, and say you meet a person for the first time, like, all right, friends, and you start doing things because you want their love, you want their affection, what happens is if they get used to that energy you're giving and they fall for it and they embrace it, you just programmed and conditioned them for your way of being. But you don't know until you get different and adversity hits that you wasn't doing that from an authentic place. You was doing it from a scarcity place or a lack of limitation space of what you were avoiding, what you needed. And I tell people all the time, you gotta understand, why are you doing what you're doing? Like, why do you want to lose the weight? Why do you want to improve your business? Why do you want to look good? what makes you feel good. And like when you start getting to the root of yourself, because I remember the reason I would detach from self because I didn't want to get to know who I really was, because no one around me that I thought loved me didn't want to know me. They didn't ask me questions. They didn't ask me how I was doing. They didn't say I was proud of you. And so I was like, well, cool. It must not be about me. I'm gonna make it about you and you and you and you. I'm gonna give. And oh yeah, people are gonna take.
Yeah.
And then when they leave, I feel empty. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm a great person. Yeah, you're a people pleaser. And you're manipulating people for not to leave you. So you're really not doing it out of love. You're doing it out of fear.
Yeah.
And so then what happens? You shut out and then you get hurt. And you're wounded more than them because they don't know you're going through that because you appear this strong, positive guy that's really hurting inside. So that's good. Thank you for that. Attach. We most of us do. We detach, especially I feel like women in society where being moms or being, you know, it's sad how they suppress women in so many different ways. You know, like as far as equality and power and all these things that women go through that men don't have to think about. So I think it's important for us to get to know who we are without those things, but more so ask ourselves, why am I doing this thing? And you'll be okay.
One of my favorite quotes this year, and there's many of them, but the one that always stands out whenever I do these interviews is that you let others abuse you to the standard that you abuse yourself.
Woo! Cameras, you see that? You caught that? Can you say that again? I've never heard that.
You let others abuse you to the standard that you abuse yourself.
Wow. We need that snippet. I got to remember that and write that down and put it up on social. That is powerful. That's so true. And there's another thing they say, we get what we tolerate.
Yeah.
Then it's like, why are we tolerating this? What are we afraid of?
But when you look at it into your own perspective, it's like how much I respect myself is how much others are going to respect me. How much I love myself is how much others are going to love me.
Yeah.
How much I value my own self-worth is what others are going to value you.
Yeah.
And that's why it was a mind shift for me when I heard it like that.
That's powerful.
So when you raise your standards,
Yeah.
then other people's treatment of you it improves.
Yeah. And that's real because it's a mindset, it's an intentionality, but it's also energy. I have 3 sisters and I tell them sometimes, I say, remember, as a woman, a guy's never going to feel comfortable saying something to you unless your energy allows it. And a lot of times your energy is how you feel about yourself on the inside, how you think about yourself. Your lack of self-worth or your worthiness, right? And so energy, certain people, energy, I know certain things, guys, I don't care who they are, they're not just going to be saying anything to anyone. Their energies won't even allow them because the energy is too potent, it's too strong. So that's why I try to tell people it's important to work on yourself and have self-care days and self-worth and self-respect, because the energy you put in is going to show up in the world and people are going to live and treat you from that energetic space. So, yeah.
Well, Eric, it has been an honor. I can't believe our time has come to an end today. I could have
divine timing.
Spoke to you for ages.
Yeah.
There's so much more I would love to get out of you.
Yeah.
But where can people find you?
People can find me on social media at Eric Bigger. Follow me. Bigger Talks podcast. Download and subscribe to the podcast, Bigger Talks. And, I have a few books out. 100 Days of Wisdom, 100 Quotes to Live a More Inspired Life. And get that transformation book. Change your mindset, change your energy, change your life. And get the book. It's on Amazon. And also, you can click the link in my bio. You can sign up for one-on-one coaching. Or we can do a 15-minute intention call and see how I might help you, how I can help you. But I'm here to help. I'm here to see the world heal, evolve, and be a better place because of my presence. So I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for this platform. And this was beautiful. Trauma Undone.
Thank you, Eric.
Yes,
thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And thank you all for watching Trauma Undone today, and let your healing begin.
Amen. Bars. I love that.